Alright, what's up guys, it's KOSDFF here, and today I'm going to tell you guys another story from my college years, another retarded story of me and my friends going out to do something we thought was cool and it ended up being like a total clusterfuck, which was kind of a common theme like whenever we left our apartments for the most part. Not that stupid shit didn't happen in our apartments, but it just seemed like whenever we went out into the world to try to accomplish something or do something besides school, it would just always end up totally fucked up because one of us either had no idea what we were doing, or two, just ended up being at the wrong place at the wrong time over and over and over again. And this time we decided to go camping. Now we go to UNC Charlotte, so although we're not exactly in the city of Charlotte, we're not in a wooded area or a place where you can go camping like at all. So we would have to drive like a couple hours towards the Appalachian Mountains or somewhere near Boone or somewhere up there to go camping, but none of us have really even been camping since we were kids. Now I was raised camping. My dad had some property that I believe that he bought off his parents or something like that, and it was basically this small little camping lot on a deer lease. And we would go camping there all the time, at least 3 or 4 times a year. My dad and his buddies would get up and go hunting, and they'd all go get deer, and then they'd have it processed, and you know, we'd have deer for like that whole year. We ate a lot of venison growing up. I am from Texas, and like I've said in a couple other videos, I spent a lot of time outdoors playing sports and doing all that stuff when I was growing up, so much so that I really didn't even find video games until I was much older. So I do know about camping, like, you know, how to start a fire, how to cook stuff over a fire, how to set up tents, generally what to stay away from, and you know, just, you know, basic camping shit. But the rest of my city slicker friends have absolutely no idea, save one. It was actually my friend Chris, and he was from, I want to say, around the Boone area, like around the Asheville area of North Carolina. I don't exactly remember the town, but he's up in the mountains and he knows of like all these national parks and things like that, and he had this bright idea to go to this park near his house, hike around until we found a random camping spot and just like party all night. And of course this is something that we all really wanted to do, and he had all the tents, and we even went by my parents' house to go pick up whatever camping gear that they had. I think I got a tent off my dad and maybe some fire starters and just random crap. And sleeping bags. I was the person with all the sleeping bags. Because we were raised camping, we had a whole family's worth of sleeping bags that were just like up in the attic. So we took all those, loaded up into like 2 cars, and drove towards Boone. We only made one stop, and that was to get hot dogs and beer. We also had to get a couple coolers because, you know, there was like 7 or 8 of us, so we had a lot of hot dogs and even more beer. I guess at this point we had all forgotten about the whole hiking to the camp spot part, which we would soon find out entailed taking everything that we had brought with us by foot, like up this fucking mountain. And when you're trying to haul like 2 coolers when you only got like 4 dudes and 3 girls, well, it just basically meant we became pack mules. They carried a lot of the bags and a guitar, while the rest of us had to hump these huge ass coolers full of fucking beer all the way up this damn mountain. But we were oblivious to this at that point. Filled up all the coolers that we had just bought and headed towards this national park. Now, if you guys are from an area that has a lot of national parks, you probably already know that they have a very specific designated area for camping and hiking and fishing, and that if you try to do any of the other things in the wrong spot, you're gonna get a whole lot of shit. Well, we had no idea about any of that. We figured it was a national park, it belonged to the government, and then we could just go hang out on it whenever we wanted. So we pulled into the national park, we parked our car, we unloaded all our shit, and began hiking up. Now, of course, we cracked a few beers on the way up there, so we're getting braver and braver, and every single time it comes to one of those forks in the roads where it says extreme path and like pussy path, we took the extreme path every time, figuring that we would find an even cooler spot to camp. And about 2 hours later, we finally get to a spot where we can even think to camp. The whole entire time that we're hiking up, it's like on this slope, it's completely covered in canopy and completely overgrown, so it was just nowhere we could camp. But finally, when we got to the very top of this trail, we noticed that a whole large part of the forest had been hid out for power lines. So we hiked to like the edge of the forest, which is probably like maybe 100 yards off of the path, and we kind of noticed this spot where the power lines changed course, and we're guessing this because they like redid them in a different direction or something like that. So there was this large like 300-yard like bowling alley style lane of trees cut out that we could just camp in, and that's where we decided to set up shop. So we set up all our tents, which ended up proving really difficult when no one knew how to set up a tent besides me. And because we were all kind of rushing to set up tents before it got dark, I kind of forgot to check the ground under the tents, and everyone ended up sleeping on like all these rocks and sticks, and everyone was super uncomfortable. It was a terrible sleeping arrangement. Not that it really mattered because we didn't really sleep. But as soon as we got the tent set up and the fire made, we started cooking hot dogs and drinking and just started, you know, partying pretty much for the rest of the night. And it was great. We finally got to get outdoors. A lot of us like lived in the library at this point. It was like right towards the end of the semester, so we hadn't been outdoors in just forever. But yeah, for the most part, we just played a bunch of drinking games and hung out and just, you know, just laughed around and did dumb shit. We didn't hurt anything or burn anything. Nothing went out of control at all, actually. The night actually went exactly how we had planned, and we all kind of like went into our tents. And there was only 2 of them, so we're all fucking squeezed in there. Just sitting there telling jokes. No one can actually get to sleep because we're all just dying of laughter about everything we're saying. But then all of a sudden, we see headlights. These massively bright, like halogen lights start creeping up this path. So instantly we go dead silent and turn off all the lights. At this point, we have no idea that we're about to get in trouble. we really think we're about to get killed, and this is one of those weird hill murderers that's like wearing squirrel fur and a fucking wife beater. But of course, eventually we opened up like the little window in the tent and kind of looked out and just saw it was a huge ass truck that was like slowly creeping around and shining a spotlight. But they haven't noticed us at all because we've put out our fire and we're kind of like on the edge of the forest and we're obviously being very quiet and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden I get a phone call and it's my dad, and he's freaking out because apparently I'm missing. I've been reported missing, that I'm in danger, that I'm hurt somewhere out in the fucking woods in Boone. And he was so relieved to get a hold of me because apparently the National Park Service called him. After he calmed down, he went on to explain that I've been reported missing by the National Park Service. Now, I didn't tell my parents that we were going camping that weekend because, you know, I was in college. I only talked to them like every 2 weeks and I would just update them on shit I didn't tell them what I was doing all the time. But I was like, no, we're all fine. I'm up here with my friends. We're out here camping near Chris's house. And he's like, well, the National Park Service is looking for you. They've put out like this massive alert. Now, we never figured out how they got my parents' phone number. We're guessing it's from the license plate on my car because that's the reason why they thought we were missing. And apparently this national park closes every single night, and when the car was left there overnight, they figured we were up in the woods hurt and needed help. So what we thought was this like hill tribe murderer, it was actually this rescue mission to come find us. So of course we just opened the tent. We kind of talked to each other like who was going to be the person to go, you know, approach the truck and tell them we're okay and shit like that, because obviously we might be in trouble or some shit. And nobody wanted to go, so me and my friend Alex ended up kind of just going up to the truck and saying, hey, what's up? And they had all these dogs in the back of their shit and they're going fucking nuts. And one of my friends had pot on him, so of course he's thinking the dogs are going nuts because they smell the pot, and he's all freaking out trying to hide it in the woods. But now after we approached them, they were really pissed. They were fucking livid. They had been woken up at like 2 a.m. to come do this rescue mission for us, and really it was just a bunch of dumb college kids that decided to go camping in a national park where you can't go camping. And he was talking about how we were in all this trouble, that we were gonna get these federal fucking charges against us because it's a national park and we're just basically in a world of fucking trouble. We were like, all right, damn it, you know, that fucking sucks. And he was like, all right, well, go show us your campsite. We gotta make sure you didn't start a fire or do anything fucking crazy. So we're like, all right, we're back over this way. And neither one of us said shit because this guy's livid. He's like screaming at us at this point. But we eventually showed him the campsite. They kind of like walked around with their flashlights. You know, we had picked up all our beer cans and put out the fire properly. We didn't leave like a mess, and we knew that we were gonna get up and leave really early, so we kind of picked up before we decided to pass out. But after their investigation, they finally came over to us, and we were all kind of like huddled around this tent just standing there talking. And he asked us what we were doing there and whether we had a permit and did we know we were breaking all these rules and shit like that. And Chris just out of nowhere pulls a fucking Ricky from Trailer Park Boys and just blurts out this totally fucking ridiculous lie. And it worked. He explained that he thought he was on his uncle's land, that we all came up here to camp and that we had his permission, that his house was like a few miles away. And the only reason why we parked where we did was because that was a shorter hike to the spot we wanted to come to, being where we were, than all the way from his uncle's house. Now, he didn't drop a name or anything. And this cop goes, oh, so you know, and I completely forget the name he said. And Chris was like, yeah, that's him. That's my uncle. And we all thought, boom, all right, you're totally fucking busted. You just got caught in a lie. There's no way this cop gave you the real name first. But it turned out that he did. And because the national park ended at the tree line, we weren't actually trespassing. The only thing we were guilty of was leaving a car in their parking lot overnight, which is not really against their rules. So we went from being federally fucked to completely in the clear, just out of nowhere. And we're all shocked at this. You know, we're all a little tipsy too. So we're just sitting there being completely silent. We figured the less we say, the better. And we're all just completely shocked that this lie worked, because we don't know a fucking soul up here besides Chris, and Chris just lives in a house. His family doesn't have all this acres of land and shit like that, so it was just a total outright lie. And well, after telling us to like pick up a little before we left, they decided just to fuck off. And they were very adamant that had we camped like 5 feet in the other direction, we would have been in a whole lot of trouble. But since we are just outside of that tree line, and that tree line marks the property, that we are completely in the clear and weren't trespassing on federal land. And we were like, all right, and they fucked off, and none of us really slept because we spent the whole night talking about what we just got away with. The sun came up at like 6:30, so it was like 2 hours later. So we packed up all our shit and just hiked back down the mountain, loaded up our cars, and decided to leave. Now, of course, we were leaving before the park actually opened, so the little ranger guy had to come out of his little hut and actually open the gate. But that didn't stop him from coming over to our cars and investigating further. I was in front, so he came over to my window first, and he asked us how the night was, and we're like, we're good. And he asked us that we clean up after ourselves, and we're like, of course. And then he asked me for the name of our uncle again, and I drew a complete blank. I had no fucking idea idea. But me being me, I figured my way out of it. I was like, I don't know that guy. That's just my friend's uncle. You know, we're just college buddies. I don't know him like that and stuff like that. And he was like, oh, okay, have a safe trip. And I'm like, all right. So we figured he was going to go move the little arm blocking us in, but nope, he decided to go back to Chris's car too. And I found out later that he asked him what the uncle's name was as well. And he just told him that, oh, it wasn't my uncle, it was someone in my car. And we're just all college friends, so we don't know each other that well. You know, we just met. And I guess he bought it because after he visited Chris's car, he didn't say anything to me and he went and opened his little arm and we drove off. We made it like 2 miles and stopped at a McDonald's and fucking chowed down on a whole bunch of normal food, drank a whole bunch of water. Kind of just sat there laughing at what a shit show of a night it was and how we just got away with that because, you know, we always got fucked for everything. And well, this time I guess someone up there liked us and we completely got away with it and it was like a fun night and, you know, no one got hurt, nothing got destroyed, and no one went to jail. But moral of the story is only go camping in places you know you can go camping, and don't go camping on national parks because those guys are serious about their work and that's federal land, so some shit can really happen to you. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. See you tomorrow.